want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac, and tonight was a big night. Y'all know what happened tonight. Not only did the Cavaliers Classic Edition jerseys, you see them back there. I got one right here. I'm wearing one right now, and you saw them out on the court tonight. They were beautiful as hell. My God, such a beautiful jersey. I'm so happy that they brought these things back. But that wasn't even the biggest thing that occurred tonight. The biggest thing that occurred tonight, outside of Donovan Mitchell doing what he does, dropping 46 points on these Philadelphia 76ers, is the return of Darius Garland. This dude, Darius Garland, his presence was immediately felt out there, immediately felt in regard to the ball movement, the dribble penetration, the shot making. It was all really flowing really, really well. And I know that the Sixers, the 76ers managed to claw and scratch their way back into this one as they managed to whittle the Cavaliers' lead down in the middle stretches of this game, because Cleveland led by as much as 26 in this game. But, they would fight their way back. And I think they eventually tied the game, but Cleveland took off once more and eventually won this game by the score of 132-121. Very, very high scoring affair, as you had multiple Cavaliers go off in this one. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say that the core, right? The core was absolutely eating tonight. Donovan Mitchell went off for 46. You had Jarrett Allen go off for 24 in his return. 24 and 10. Put some respect on Jarrett Allen's name, by the way. Evan Mobley going off for 23. So the front court combined for 47 points. Then you got Mitchell alone dropping 46. So my math isn't that great, but I think that's 93 points. 93 points between three players. You add in the starting Jaylon Tyson, who we'll spend a good amount of time talking about tonight, who chipped in 10, was blocking shots out there, knocking down more triples. Those four combined for 103 of Cleveland's 132 points. Absolutely insane production you got out of that starting five. And then obviously Darius Garland returning to the action. It was just so beautiful to see out there, even though he didn't shoot well. 3 of 11 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3-point distance. But he did finish with 4 assists and still managed to be a +5 out there. I do have some highlights. I'm glad I can at least play them. But at the end of the day, I think that having Darius Garland back out there is going to be such a big thing, because he allows for the game to just flow a little bit more naturally out there. He allows for things to flow a lot more naturally. He gets the bigs involved a hell of a lot more. He manages to, drive in, which Cavaliers have been really, really lacking dribble penetration for the longest to begin this season through these first 8 games. All of that was back, and it was beautiful. Now, we got Sam Merrill back tonight. We got Jarrett Allen back tonight. Those were 2 big pieces as well. And I already mentioned Jarrett doing what he did out there, which was phenomenal, having many feeds from Lonzo Ball, who, again, I'm going to get to Lonzo in a minute, because Lonzo was throwing some dimes. Out there. This dude was just absolutely phenomenal in regard to getting Jarrett Allen the ball down in the post. It was beautiful, especially in transition. They were finding him with passes that only he could get to. And I think what did Zoe finish with? 8 assists tonight. He didn't score, but he threw 8 dimes in about 23 minutes of action. That's the type of shit you want to see out of Zoe. Even when the shot's not falling as long as he can get his others involved. And that's exactly what was happening for the likes of Lonzo tonight. Then things are going to look really good. And one of the things I've been saying is that as long as Zoe is doing that, he's going to be impactful, especially with whatever else he provides on the defensive end, him attacking the glass like we know he is capable of doing. And I think the shot will eventually fall, because what we've seen out of him is the shot just rims out a lot. But moreover, I was just so damn happy to get Darius Garland back out there, because the offense just immediately seems to flow better, to the point where Cleveland, they scored. They had their third quarter of this season through just 8 games where they put up at least 40 points. They put up a 41-point first quarter. Ball was moving out there. I think Donovan Mitchell had 15 points in the first quarter alone. It was just some stellar basketball being played by this team, by this unit, and I could not be any happier about what I saw out there. Now, again, no DeAndre Hunter tonight, so not all the Avengers could be out there, and I think we're all dying to see the lineup of Darius, Donovan, DeAndre, Evan, and Jarrett Allen, a lineup that I posted the stats for, right? The percentages, they were extremely efficient as a unit in limited action last year, and roughly 73 possessions. They were in the 100th percentile in point differential at plus 28.8. They were in the 100th percentile in offensive rating at 130.1, in the 99th percentile in defensive rating at 101.4, and the 100th percentile in turnover percentage at 5.5. Now, rebounding is a little fluky, but you know what? They were so damn good in other areas. It was glorious to watch last season. So I think a lot of us are really, really excited about the potential prospect of those guys all being out there, with the additions of Lonzo, with the addition of Larry Nance Jr., with the progression of players like Sam Merrill and Jaylon Tyson. This unit is going to be just such a fun one to watch on a nightly basis, as long as things are rolling and they're healthy. And one of the funny things that I found that I found in this game was simply Darius Garland's sheer presence out there made it feel as if Evan Mobley couldn't miss from 3-point distance. This dude, I think he had 3 first quarter triples, just absolutely canning everything that he could get his hands on out there from beyond the arc, as he would finish 3 of 5 from long range, and 9 of 17 overall from the field. It was just such a sight to see, because he was getting his guys, Darius was getting his guys involved. And I know some of those stints, because I think Darius's first 6-minute stint saw him go a plus 12. And he wasn't even on the court for Evan doing some of the shit that he did out there. But what you saw was that his sheer presence kind of elevated everybody out there, no matter who he played beside. And speaking of some of the other returns tonight, remember I mentioned Sam Merrill, Sammy Money Merrill. He came back. Sammy Buckets. He came back with a vengeance tonight, as he would finish 4 of 5 from deep, picking up right off where he left off. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I think he's now up to like 21 triples on the season. Merrill is absolutely scorching, because if he didn't miss that time with the hit pointer, he'd probably be leading the entire NBA in triples right now. It's just absolutely uncanny how efficient this man has been to begin this season. I can't put it into words how effective he's been. Now, on the season, through 5 appearances, including tonight's game, Money Merrill is shooting 55% from long distance on 40 attempts. So he's knocked down 22 of 40. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane, the level of efficiency that he has shown you to begin the season. And he's giving you the high-level effort on defense. And Merrill, he is not by no means a lockdown defender out there, but there were a few possessions in which he was, D'ing up the likes of Tyrese Maxey out there and others, and he was standing his ground. And we know that he brings his trademark screen navigation to the table. When Sam is doing that on the defensive end, combined with what he provides you on the offensive end in such a floor-stretching presence, there's just no real answer for teams that, for what they could have. And it just all these additional pieces, because we know that Don is going to eat. We know that Jarrett Allen, as long as you keep him involved, he's going to eat. We know that Evan Mobley is going to get his touches and he's going to eat. And we know that Darius Garland is eventually going to get back to his all-star levels of efficiency once he gets his feet truly under him. We know all of these things are going to happen. That is exactly those are exactly things that we can expect to happen. But some of these additional pieces, i.e. Sam and Tyson, who is coming now 4 straight appearances scoring in double figures tonight, as he is now shooting 17 of 39 from 3-point range, meaning he has 43.6% from the field. 43.6% from 3-point range. It's just absolutely insane to me. Tonight marks the 5th game of the season for Tyson through 8 that he has scored or dropped at least 2 triples. Just good levels of efficiency. And you saw the block. You saw the block that he had out there. I'm going to play the highlight reel again, but it was just absolutely insane that you got him being able to provide these big levels of efficiency. Just crazy to me that he was able to go out there and do that, because I think that him transitioning to this bench eventually, which is exactly where they're going to go with it. He is not going to start the entire season, obviously. Hunter will be back. It will happen. He will be back. And when he does come back, he is going to be in that starting unit. And what does that mean? That means that Tyson is going to be back on the bench. And that's okay. And that just means that this team has some serious depth. But in watching him explode through this, first couple of games of the season, the first 8 games of the season, it has told me one thing. I don't care when Max Strus comes back. Tyson has to be a rotational lock. I don't know who's out. I don't know if Kenny has to expand the rotation to 11 during the regular season. I don't know if some of these other decisions are going to have to be made. But what I do know is that there is absolutely no way Tyson gets sent to the bench. Absolutely no way that Tyson gets benched or doesn't play regularly, because entering the season, if Max was healthy, if DG was healthy, if Sam was healthy, Tyson is probably the odd man out prior to the season beginning. But with the way that he has taken off, there's absolutely no way you can sit him. You cannot bench him. So I do not know what they will end up doing. Kenny Atkinson has a tough conversation headed his way if the play of one Jaylon Tyson continues, because they just paid Sam Merrill. They're not going to sit him. Max Strus, they love what Max brings to the table. He's not going to not get minutes. He will be in the rotation. Other players who are competing for minutes, it's just, Lonzo, there's just no real way that you can justifiably not play Tyson with the way that he is. But that's a problem that's so far down the road. I'm just happy that we have this amount of depth to rely upon, because this team, the one thing that we know is that they needed playable depth, especially come the playoffs, due to a lot of these injuries that the team has sustained over the last couple of seasons. And now you can feel more comfortable, right? If one of the bigger pieces in the rotation gets injured, you feel more comfortable with the bench that you have being able to step up in a pinch. God forbid we suffer through even more injuries. But in the case that we do, in the event that we do, I feel much better about handing off those roles to some of the deeper pieces on the roster. And that to me is it's going to be an interesting thing to play out as the season progresses. But you know what? I do have to be completely 100. I think that one of the things that has to be said is Philly is coming off the first leg of a back-to-back, and they played hard, right? They were able to tie the game up at one point after Cleveland led pretty big. And I think that you got to give them credit for their effort level on the defensive end and on the glass. Andre Drummond over on the the opposing sidelines, he did his very best on the glass tonight to generate extra offensive opportunities for the 76ers, as he would finish with a double-double himself tonight in relief of Joel Embiid, who sat out because it's back-to-back. 13 points, 13 rebounds for Drummond, who pulled down 4 offensive rebounds all by himself. And as a team, Philly would actually outdo Cleveland in terms of second chance points, 20-13. And I think that Drummond was a huge part in generating those extra opportunities. I think Bona had a couple of himself out there. And I think that their defense throughout the mid portion of this game, they were able to climb back into it, but they just could not match Cleveland's sheer offensive firepower. It just was impossible to do when you have the trio of Mobley, Allen, and Mitchell combining for 93 points. That's just insane levels of offensive production and efficiency out there, right? Each one of those players shot above 50% from the floor, and between Mobley and Don, they drilled 9 triples collectively. There's just not really any getting over that, especially when you have some of the additional pieces in Sam Merrill and Jaylon Tyson being able to contribute the way that they did. Because in total, the Cavaliers had 5 players scoring double figures, and at least 3 scored 20 plus, which is just insane. Just absolutely insane to me that they were able to do that. But man, oh man, I don't know. I just don't know what to make of this team right now because they're not even at full strength. You still don't have Strus. You still don't have Hunter, who sat out tonight with an illness. So what is the real Cleveland Cavaliers team going to look like? That, to me, is the real question, because you still don't even have your full complement of players out there, 2 big rotational pieces. And so I'm very interested to see how much more they can progress, how much more they can evolve, what types of usage levels are affected. Because entering this game with Darius returning, I was really, really wondering what the utilization would look like for Evan Mobley, what the utilization, and this is prior to DeAndre Hunter being ruled out. I was really wondering what the utilization and touches would be like for the likes of a player like DeAndre Hunter. And I remain interested to see what that'll look like. And we'll get that opportunity to evaluate that hopefully on Friday in a game that I'll be at. I cannot wait against the Washington Wizards. But I'm just I'm in a place right now where, you know, we watched these first, what was it, 7, 8 games or so, and people were just ready to make all these sweeping declarations and not trying to be patient with this team. And I'm like, we don't even have the fucking, like, all of these guys out here, and we still don't. But to me, you can't, you couldn't take what you saw in the initial portion of this season to heart, because they didn't have their leading man out there. They didn't have their orchestrator out there in Garland. And it showed. It showed on the stat sheet and in the film, because guys weren't being as involved as you needed them to be, especially in the front court. The paint touches for Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley were both considerably down from last season. Evan was getting his shot chart just spewed nonsense out there, and his touches were beginning further and further out in the perimeter. That's not a recipe for success with guys like that. But I'll tell you what, him back out there, even if it's not his most efficient self, I'm more than excited, because he just empowers guys the way that we know that they need to be. And getting guys like Jarrett Allen involved is going to pay dividends. And speaking of Jarrett, right, coming back with the splint on, if I'm not mistaken, just absolutely showing out. And I know that it's not Joel Embiid out there, but Andre Drummond is no slouch. He's still a pretty productive player in this league. We know that Adem Bona is not a slouch either. And Jarrett was out there hustling, pulling down rebounds, getting offensive putbacks, running out in transition, throwing it down, even with the broken, busted finger that people were pleading on social media for him to have surgery on. And I'm just like, how do you watch this performance? How do you watch his performance in a game like this and not feel that he'll be just fine? Because he will be. That is honestly where we are at with Jarrett Allen right now. He will be just fine. He just needed Darius Garland to be out there, apparently. That's it. That is literally it for Jarrett Allen. He just needed the passer who most involved him in the offense last year back out there. Max Strus is a distant second in that regard, and he'll help push the envelope even further. But Jarrett Allen's going to be just fine. And I think tonight showed you exactly that. But I'll be really, really curious to see if he can continue to follow that up with consistent performances, because we haven't seen it we haven't seen the consistency this year. But again, I think a lot of that is simply just not having Darius in the early going. But man, it's phenomenal. It truly was. There was not one portion of this game that I was not excited about. Even when Philly managed to come back, I'm like, okay, I'm not really worried about it. I know that Cleveland, they're still trying to figure a couple of things out. Donovan, he's absolutely scorching. I mean, this dude, right? Don, I feel like I haven't talked about him enough. 46 points tonight, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 15 of 21 from the field, which is 71.4% overall, 6 of 11 from deep, and a perfect 10 of 10 from the charity stripe. This guy, like I'm struggling to put the words together to describe what he has meant to this team this year, because this was his 5th game of the season scoring at least 30 points. And tonight he puts up 46. He's on a very low usage rate compared to his other years in Cleveland. It literally is MVP shit out there. And I know that we're just 8 games into the season. I understand that we have to take everything lightly because we haven't even reached the quarter mark of the season. And we've seen a lot of different players out there explode this year, whether that be Tyrese Maxey, who's on the other sideline tonight, Austin Reeves, right? Luka doing what he does. There's been a lot of big time performances to begin this year from some guys you expect it from, others not so much. But Donovan, he has played easily like a top 5 player to begin this season. And I know with as much depth as this team has, I know with as much offensive firepower as this team has, Don is not going to have nights like this every single game, especially once they return to full strength and DeAndre's back out there and you got Max, right? And Darius has got his full legs under him. It's not going to continue. But that doesn't mean he can't, right? When Don needs to will this team to victory, he very clearly can, because that is exactly what we have seen from this team as they move on to 5-3. In the early portion of the season, people were thinking that the sky was falling because the players out there opposite Don some of them weren't necessarily experiencing their usual high levels of play. And also they're questioning his ability to properly play the point. And to me, I'm like, obviously that's just not his optimal position. And with Darius back out there, it takes a lot more pressure off of him. And you can just be that secondary playmaker, that secondary creator for others. It doesn't have to be that primary guy while still trying to be Superman offensively and knock down every shot out there. That to me, because this man right now, no lie, Donovan Mitchell, if the free throws weren't so shitty to begin the season, because no lie, Donovan he didn't start the season off the most efficient from the charity stripe. The whole team was really struggling in that regard. But Donovan, through 7 appearances, is averaging over 57.6% from the field, 45% from deep on 9.4 attempts, and he's shooting 82% from the charity stripe after going 10 of 10 tonight. So if he didn't start the season off so shitty from beyond, or from the charity stripe rather, this man would basically be averaging 30 plus on 50, 40, 90 levels of efficiency, which is just fucking insane. Just think about that. Think about that. This man is this man is basically 50, 40, 90 out there. Fluky start to the free throws, but 50, 40, 90 and averaging over 30 points. That's some crazy levels of efficiency. That's crazy shit out there. And I think that if he continues that up, he'll have yet another all NBA caliber season, and he might even get some votes in the MVP race in for serious consideration. But like I said, there's so much offensive firepower in this team. It'll be hard to truly justify nights like this every single night where you're hoping that you don't have to lean on Don to provide these like superhuman performances and score 40 plus, 30 plus every night. And again, I don't think that'll be the case. But it certainly, it's a comforting feeling knowing that he can turn on that extra gear when he needs to, because there was just no stopping him tonight, whether that was going towards the rim or flat out just going out there and knocking them down from beyond the arc, because that's exactly what you saw from Don tonight. That is exactly what you saw from Mitchell tonight. This man was just cashing everything that came his way. And I think that if he's playing like this, it's going to be very, very hard. Look at that, man. Just the step back Jays out there. Just phenomenal. It's poetry in motion as you got Evan Mobley knocking down the triple right there. It just, that first quarter was literally poetry in motion out there if you're a fan of ball movement, because it wasn't stagnant. Players were getting to their spots. You see Darius down here driving aside, not getting the fucking foul, which is ridiculous. Darius Garland has the worst whistle in the league, man. He's got the worst whistle in the league. And there he goes right there, cashing that three. But you see just the fluidity of the offense with this team. And I don't know how you beat them when they're operating like this, all cylinders. Evan Mobley going out there dunking over Kelly Oubre. That was beautiful. And I don't know if it's just the jersey, because these things do feel like they're a little tighter than usual. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting fatter, but Evan Mobley looked considerably bigger, a little bit more muscular than he usually does out there. And I think that he's out there. Obviously, he put a lot of time into the weight room this offseason. He does look bulkier. He does look like he's added a little bit of strength, hopefully functional strength at that. But plays like that where you saw him dunk all over Oubre. I know Oubre is not the biggest guy out there, but just going out there and skying over is not something that you have always seen from Mobley, who can play timid at times. But that just hasn't been the case this year. It just hasn't been the case. Just it's been beautiful basketball, at least tonight. And we hope that that continues. But I really don't have any true gripes tonight based upon what we saw. It was just, it was beautiful. And I know I keep saying that, but there's just no other word for it. Donovan, he was literally, look at that's the most beautiful move in basketball. That is the most beautiful move in basketball right there. That Euro, that old Dwayne Wade like, right? Just beautiful. I don't know how you beat that. And Sam cashing it. Just crazy levels of efficiency out there. And I hope that they're able to continue and have this brought to town, to DC, when they face off against the Wizards. But I don't know. Time to hop into the chat. Man, oh man. Reef Gang says, DG, Jarrett, Sam back. Now we get Dre back, and I like we are heading. He also says, you're the GOAT, Mac. I appreciate you, man. I truly do. Just that Tyson putback dunk was nasty. It truly was. John Vaughn says, good win. Provida 253 says, let's fucking go Cavs. I'm right there with you, brother. Says Erica says, Tyson going to have to grab a jersey if he keeps this up. Go out and buy one right now before they sell out. I'm telling you. Neverbloom says, for real, Tyson fucking cooking. Yes, he is. Spody Thought says, Zoe MF2. Yes, Lonzo has been a sight to see, even when the shot isn't falling. And I continue to believe that it will eventually. He provides in so many other areas that it means that he's playable. Even when the shot's not falling. Again, I mentioned he had 0 points tonight, but he doled out 8 assists, many of them to Jarrett Allen. And when that is happening, there are no real complaints from me. D Jackson H1K says, we play with good ball movement tonight. Provider 253 says, tapped in hella late, but a dub is a dub. This is a good one. Hopefully you get a chance to watch it from start to finish. Cavs King 2016 says, great energy tonight with DG back. Tyson certified dog. Let's go. Yeah, Tyson is bringing that dog mentality out there. He truly is a living embodiment of, I got that dog in me, right? He is the embodiment of that out there. Also says, finally catching Mac live before wife comes in. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, appreciate the support on the stream. Don't want to get you in trouble, right? Or anything like that. So if you got to jump, I completely understand. Jonah Quest says, hope Dean is okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but the Cavaliers just cannot go one game without somebody being hurt or removed, right? I think he got poked in the eye, a la a Gary Trent Jr. type of injury right there, where he pokes Darius Garland in the eye a couple of years ago. Hopefully Dean's all right, though. Bandos Burner says, Pro's still a dork. Listen, Pro can be a dork for all I care. You go out there and you put up 24 and 10. That's all I need from you. I don't care. I don't really care about the complaints. And then he was taking threes tonight, which was cool to see. It may not go in, but I like the mentality, the shooter mentality out there. HJ17 Gaming says, with Jaylon Tyson's development, should the Cavs trade for a more reliable backup for using Max's contract? I don't think so this season. I think that the Cavaliers really truly like what Max brings to the table on the contract that he is on. And now that he is going to be coming off the bench full time, I think that value is going to go up even further. And I don't worry about the backup four because I do believe that Larry's going to be fine. I think Larry will be just fine. I think Thomas Bryant, he allows Evan Mobley to play in lineups at the four. I think you have good depth there. DeAndre can still play minutes at the four. Dean can still play minutes at the four. No, I wouldn't. I would see how this year plays out. They have it's not a perfect mixture. It's not a perfect roster, but it is a damn good one with very few flaws at this point. I think Kobe Altman, Mike Gantey and company, the rest of that front office, I think they did a damn good job at shoring up some of the holes on this roster with the additions this offseason with what they had to work with. And so, no, I wouldn't do that. If Likes Both says, feels so good to see my glorious prince Darius back. So whoever said the Cavs are better without him, go suck it. Are we shocked? Also, Tyson. That's the words. Hey, Jaylon Tyson has been absolutely cooking to begin this season, shooting over 43% from distance on great volume, might I add. I mean, tonight, what I say, he was shooting over 43% on roughly about 5 attempts per game, 4.9 per outing. Tonight marked his, I think, was it 5th game of the season in which he knocked down at least 2 triples. And the volume, like I mentioned, that's what really stands out to me the most. This was his 4th straight game where he attempted at least 5 triples. If he continues to do that, teams will have to eventually respect him, because I mentioned this in the Tyson video that I put out the other day. Almost every shot attempt from range that he has had, the defender's given the space to him. They're sagging off of him still. I think while I would love for that to continue to be the case, that they will have to eventually adjust as he's shooting above 43%. And again, yeah, he's on kind of a heater right now. That will not continue all season. Shooters do go through slumps. Hopefully it doesn't happen for a while or too much this season for Tyson or Merrill, whoever else out there. But they're giving him the space. And for now, that's a great thing, for Tyson's confidence, because he has shown no confidence issues, no lacking ability to pull the trigger, no hesitancy like we had seen from players like Wade and Okoro in the past, and sometimes Craig, right? He doesn't show that same type of hesitancy. So I think that's just been awesome. Beast Girl says, once everybody is back in the lineup fully healthy, this team is going to be good and dangerous. I mean, shit, they're already good and dangerous right now. Can you imagine what they're going to look like once DeAndre is in the starting lineup and once Max is back? That's just crazy. At Cavs 17 says the 7-game doubters are in shambles. I mean, the crazy thing to me about the people who are sitting there seriously bitching and complaining about the way that they look this first 7 games of the year are the same people who usually say, the regular season doesn't matter, or they're like, I believed in the Cavaliers, they were just playing terribly, yada yada, stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, it was refreshing to see Darius back out there. It was refreshing to see Jarrett playing like we know he's capable of playing, and it was refreshing to see Sam Merrill come back, because they missed his spacing. B Scrolls also says Sam was on point. I agree. Neverbloom says Money Merrill. Yes, sir. Sam Hollick 8127 says Donovan will be good. It seemed a lot easier for him to get to the points he did tonight, and his minutes are going to be easier to manage soon. Yeah, I mean, Darius takes a lot of pressure off of him with his sheer presence out there, because that's another self-creator that defenses have to account for. Now, we talk about how Tyson players sag off of him defensively. We know that the case with Darius, you can't do that with him. He will destroy you. Chris Nick Vinda says Zoe is the best playmaker and passer we've had since Bron. It's just natural out there. Haywood Rezak says, bro, not gonna lie, would it be crazy to say Tyson should be our starting small forward with Hunter, Strus coming off the bench with Zoe's playmaking? Um, I think there's a case for that if you want to have a real discussion. I don't think the Cavaliers would do it. I think they really like the size that DeAndre Hunter gives them, along with the this self creation and the off ball shot making in the defense. But I think there is a case that without a Ty Jerome level bench score on ball, there is a real case for using Hunter's production on the bench because we know that he can self-create. We know that he can use a lot of those on-ball reps. But again, I don't think Kenny would actually do that. I do believe that there is validity to that line of thought, though, truly. So good question. Nev AG4L says, you can tell that DG being back brought the energy back for the team. Agree. The boy Duda says, would it be crazy to say Jaylon Tyson? Oh, I think I just actually read that. Floyd Phillips II says, what are we going to do about Garland's defense? Per usual, they were targeting him. Here's the thing with Darius. One, from a defensive standpoint, Floyd, I think that we have to, at some point, we do have to just give him a little grace because his first game back. And here's the thing with Darius's defense. Darius will always be a target. He will always be a target. But we have to understand the difference between the word target and liability. To me, Darius is no longer a liability defensively. Darius entered the league as a liability defensively. It's why a lot of the reason why players, coaches, pundits out there, analysts considered him the worst player in basketball. We already know about that story during his rookie season. But Darius, slowly but surely, his defense at the point of attack is not a terrible defender relative to his size. The one area that I would like to see Darius improve in is the passing lanes. Like Donovan, right? Donovan is not necessarily the greatest on-ball defender at the NBA level, and we know what he was at the college level at Louisville. But at the NBA level, Donovan is a aggressive attacker in terms of the passing lane. He plays the passing lanes very well. We know that on ball, he is capable of picking up steals. He can go out there and, swipe the ball away. But I think that Darius, that's the one area that I would love to see improvement for him in. But yeah, while he'll always be a target of the defense, he's not a liability anymore, especially against the switch. I have the numbers here. I've said them like 3,000 times, but to the detractors, you can include yourself in there if you'd like to, Floyd. But Darius, he's held up well generally over the course of his last couple of seasons against the switch. The one that everybody tends to point to is Jason Tatum, as the Boston Celtics, historically in those matchups against the Cavs, have loved to try and isolate Darius against Tatum in one-on-one matchups. They've done the same thing with Garland on Brown, but I think that he is no longer a true liability defensively, and he'll always likely be targeted, though, especially as the smallest starter out there. They're going to try and attack him, antagonize him. And if I was a coach, I would look to do much the same, just because he is, quote unquote, the weakest link of the starting lineup from a defensive standpoint. But being the weakest link of a strong defensive unit doesn't necessarily mean a lot. I'll tell you what, though, I think that he'll be just fine. He held up very well last year. From a defensive standpoint, there really wasn't a lot that happened to Darius. I truly don't think that I really don't think he gets enough respect for the growth that he showcased over the years on that end. He's not a great defender, but he's not a terrible defender anymore. He's just small. I think that's the reality of the evaluation when it comes to Darius. He's not great, but he's not terrible. He's just small, and that's okay. They just have to be able to make up for that, and Darius has to be able to become just enough of a solid defender at his position and on switches to not be a true liability. And I think he's shown you that. The real problem with Darius hasn't been defensive. I don't think enough people understand that either. Darius, the Cavs are not losing games. The Cavs are not losing games within the postseason because Darius is a bad defender. They're losing games. If you want to point the finger at Darius, it's not on the defensive end. Darius has struggled offensively, and he struggled with injuries. That's where the mindset needs to be, right? That's the reality when it comes to Darius. If we're being real, it's nothing that he's done defensively that's truly been leading to L's in the playoffs. It's not having him being offensively consistent when he is healthy or available out there. We know that he wasn't necessarily terrible against the Knicks a couple of years ago, but he wasn't great. We know that against Orlando and Boston during the 2023-24 postseason, after he came off of the jaw injury, he wasn't quite the same, but he was out there and the offensive consistency was lacking. And we know that he looked absolutely great in terms of the 2 games that he played against the Miami Heat before suffering his injury or re-injuring the toe, and then fell off a cliff because he was playing basically on 1 foot out there. So it's not really an issue to me, especially when you have great backline of defenders in Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. And now presumably you will be starting DeAndre Hunter, and Don's not a terrible defender either. So, I mean, I don't have a lot of complaints. If that is top on your complaints list, or we're really worried about him holding up defensively, I think that there can be time better spent on other things. If you're really worried about it, though, look at the problems offensively for Darius in the playoffs. Chaz Erica says top 10 defense almost every year. Don and Darius have played together. Exactly. I mean, I don't know why we worry about that. If Like Spoke says the pick on Darius was created by Boston last year, and now people are copycatting. Yeah. And even when they picked on him against Darius during the regular season, Darius held up just well. And in the playoffs against Boston, I don't take a lot of that. I don't hold a lot of weight in that. I don't put a lot of weight in that because they had virtually no chance of winning that series. They just didn't. Darius, he was pretty bad offensively. And frankly, the Cavaliers had no shot to win that. And lo and behold, what happened? Boston goes on to win the title that year. So I don't really hold too much against him in that series against Boston. But I feel like I've harped on that long enough. And this is probably a good stopping point. This has been such a fun start to the year. I know there's already been some ups and downs, but at 5-3 with some of the injuries that they have had to circumvent already, and just now getting Darius back, that's a pretty damn good start to this season. And I think tonight showcased, if only in small spurts with Darius, how effective this team operates with him back out on the court, even if DeAndre's not there. But I'll tell you what, it was beautiful. As I always tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, I can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. Oh my God, I did that without messing up this time. It's the small things, the little victories in life, right? If you want to support the pod in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. You can do so on YouTube as well for as little as $1 a month. But even if you don't, I'll be here making the content because I love you guys. Go Cavs.